Hey, what's up, nerds? I've got a brand new Nintendo Switch accessory review for you, straight out of my own pocket. No handouts here, no glad handing. Just, this is all from the heart and right out of my wallet. This time, we have the PowerA Fusion Pro wireless controller. Wireless is true. We'll get into it. I've got a lot of thoughts on this thing. I've got ups and downs with it. Happy to go over all of that with you in this review. Let's get to it. Okay, so this isn't actually an unboxing video. I've had it out for more than a week. I just actually wanted to show you how they present this, because it feels like they went a little above and beyond. It's a little more premium of packaging than you're normally used to with PowerA. Slide that on out. And you are revealed with this nifty carrying case. It actually normally has instructions at the bottom there. I pulled those out. I don't know where they are. This isn't the full experience, I guess. Nice little carrying case. Says Fusion across the front there, for whatever that's worth. And I'll show you everything that this $100 package comes with. You have primarily, let's look at this. This is the cord. There are different functionalities wired versus wireless, and we'll get into that. But this is good charging cord. Feels good, braided, long length. I can't remember exactly how long it is. It's at least 10 feet. Might be longer. Probably says on the back of this. Let me actually get my facts straight. Yes, that is a 10-foot control, 10-foot cord there. Works fine for me playing in wired mode. I have reasons to play in wired mode. Like I said, we'll get into that. I don't always play in wired, but there are reasons. It comes with, normally, you get a couple analog stick options. Here we have what should be the convex options. But you can probably see they gave me one concave and one convex instead of two. I assume it'd be two convex here because there's already concaves on the controller. So really I have three concaves and one convex. It's fine for me. I'm not going to complain about that because the concave is my preferred option there. I don't really see any value to doing a convex one, especially since there it goes. It feels kind of the end of that one kind of feels plasticky and cheap. Not a lot going on. These have the ridges that they have on them. It might be just as plasticky and cheap, but they actually feel good and they actually work for me. So that's fine. This little bit here is actually to replace the paddles. You can take these paddles off really easy. Pop right off. You can, I believe they probably fit right in there too. No, they don't. So if you're gonna do them in the carrying case, you want the backs on that. But you can just pop that right on there. Got a nice flat back. Feels just like a standard Pro controller at that point. But I bought this for a reason. I mostly bought it for the paddles. The paddles feel good. You've got to learn. There's a learning curve. There's a bit of adapting to the way that you're gonna hold this. You gotta be light. You don't want to press them. They have a pretty positive response as you push them, and you do have to actually put pressure on. So it's you're not likely to accidentally hit them just holding it. If you're doing other things with your fingers, maybe, but I think you'd get used to it. I've gotten used to it. I don't really hit them accidentally. This switch here switches you from between wired and wireless. Really, the main reason. Okay, there are things here that I don't understand. You can only use this. It comes with a headphone jack. That is new. We're relatively new for a Switch controller, I think. I'm sure other ones have it. None of the ones that I have, or none of the PowerA ones that I've used have had these, but I'm sure some of the wired ones have. And that's the rub, is that you have to be wired into the USB port on a dock switch for that to work. You're not going to get audio through that if you're in wireless mode. That's not PowerA's fault. That is an issue with the way Nintendo has handled audio on the Switch. Don't blame them. I don't blame PowerA for that. But it's a little weird that you can't get all of the features of this in each mode. And it wouldn't be weird. I'd let that slide, except that you can't get gyro. There is gyro on this, but you can only get gyro wirelessly. And I don't know why that is. I don't have a good reason as to why they won't allow for gyro when you're in wired mode. That is truly and honestly my biggest complaint here, is not allowing gyro and wired. I understand why they can't allow audio and wireless. Not their fault. Not offering gyro and wired, I guess they think that it might get a little cumbersome, but I don't think so. I've been sitting there, I've played it wired a few times, and I think it would have been perfectly fine to have gyro there. There might be a reason. If anybody knows the reason that isn't allowed to happen, let me know in the comments down below, but I've got nothing for you there. Lastly, the other feature of this faceplate pops right off. Nothing to it. Little tab down here, little indentation, you just pop it right off. Held on with magnets. Fairly nifty. Put that away. There's a carrying area for the secondary one right here. It's kind of a pain to do reaching around all this equipment, but there we go. Really not that bad. Slide the other one right back in there, and then like nothing, you just pop it right on, and you have instantly changed the aesthetics on your controller. I kind of like it. I actually like the white look a little more, but white shows dirt. I'd be obsessively cleaning it. It's the problem. I don't really want to do that. Let's go over how this feels. I've already talked about how the back feels. I like those. I like the back paddles. I think they work well. I think they have positive response. I think they feel good, and I don't think that there's much chance of accidentally hitting them. One of the biggest things that you're always worried about on these third-party controllers is how the face buttons feel. I think they have good, a good click, good positive response there, good tactile feel, all those buzzwords. I like them. They don't feel cheap. They feel pretty akin to the Nintendo Pro controller. Actually, let me grab the Nintendo Pro controller real quick, and we'll kind of I'll one-to-one tell you what the buttons feel like. Standard Nintendo Pro controller. The main thing I recognize right away is that the button spacing is quite a bit different. A little bit more space on there, a little more, I don't know, it's not quite the perfect diamond shape on the Nintendo controller, as where it's a little tighter grouping here. I don't think it matters. I don't think it significantly matters here. I will say that these feel a little mushier on the Pro controller, but in a good way, like in a more professional way. But they still have good click, good bounce back, good response. These, yeah, they do feel a little bit cheaper. But, you know, some people might like this more. It's not necessarily the material, it's just, I don't know. It kind of feels more like punching in bubble wrap. But not a deal breaker here. And again, generally, if you're going to be using the paddles, that's not your biggest concern. So they work, they're fine, they're good. Nobody cares about the menu buttons and everything there. That's irrelevant. The D-pad is better here. Not only does it feel better, well, truth be told, I've always really liked the feel of this one. And yeah, this one probably does feel better. Irrelevant because, as we all know, at least on these early models, which is what I have launch model Switch Pro controller. The D-pad is dog shit. It's dog shit. It's lost me more than a handful of matches of Tetris 99 because it doesn't know. It doesn't have good response. Sometimes you're mashing down, it thinks you're mashing left. Like if you mash down like a little too far on the left of it, it's just gonna send it left, or vice versa. You know, it's just there's not enough individualistic response there. That's where this one haven't had that problem. Plays great on 2D games. Damn near perfect D-pad as far as response goes, and it feels good. Sorry, I was looking at it and not looking at it on camera. It feels good. I like it. The analog sticks, like I said, they feel a little plasticky, feel a little cheap, but they have good response. They have not failed me at all. That's just the covers, you know. They're plasticky covers. They don't feel as premium, you know, as the rubber and the plastic of the Switch Pro controller, but they feel good. And they're elevated. That's something that they sell this on, and it might seem a little doofy, but I think it's important, especially if you're playing fast-paced first-person shooters, which is what I've mostly been testing this on, is Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal is like my go-to test on any controller. I think it is a very fair test of a controller. It's very fast-paced. You want it to be good and responsive, because if it's not good and responsive, you're going to get killed. And it works great for me. I think the analog sticks are incredibly responsive. I don't know, I think that probably about covers it. Your triggers are good. Just as good as these. Top to bottom, I think this is, at least in most features, very much on par with the Pro controller. Obviously, there's no HD rumble. Obviously, there is no NFC reader. But in every other way, I think it is on par with the Pro controller on the Switch. I think the gyro seems just as responsive, but I haven't one-to-one on that. It was kind of feeling a little jerky on Doom Eternal, but Doom Eternal is a technical marvel in that it shouldn't really be running on the Switch anyway, so I don't know how much of that was just weird frame rates and playing it on the big screen for the first time in a while, or how much might have been a little bit jerky on the gyro, but I think I don't want to put that on the controller. I think its gyro responses are good. I think this is in every way just as good as this. So what you're buying when you buy this is, I mean, you're going for the paddles. If you don't have any interest in the paddles, don't buy this. Do not buy this. It's $30 more than the Pro controller. If you're not going to play with paddles, this is not any better than this, unless you're just like really looking for a good D-pad solution, in which case I cannot say that this is the best D-pad on the market for the Switch. I might have to do a little bit of research into that, but you can probably find cheaper options for a good D-pad than this. Maybe not in a wireless controller. I'll look into it. Oh yeah, and another thing I wanted to touch on is the rubber grip here feels fine. I like it. It works. But rubber like this, especially when it's coming into contact with oils from human hands and you're constantly sweating, which you're going to be doing when playing high intensity game, which is the point of this controller. Once again, the point of this controller, you're probably going to be sweating. and that will eventually cause some breakdown here. And I'd rather have seen nice textured plastic, like this, or the back of I got a Razer Tournament Edition for my Xbox One, and it has just textured plastic, and it is perfectly fine. And I think that would have probably been the better route here than this, cheap kind of rubber, textured rubber. But not a deal breaker for me. Also worth noting is that the paddles on the back can be removed individually. That way, if you feel like one's getting in your way, or you only need a couple, or you want it to be a little more lopsided, you can customize that. I don't think you can move them from slot to slot. I think the bottom ones have to stay on the bottom and the top ones have to stay on the top. Otherwise, I don't think it fits right. But that you can take one off or take two off, or have those arranged in whatever way is most comfortable to you. That way, if you are finding yourself inadvertently hitting the triggers while you're not really wanting to, you can customize that a bit. One other thing that I wanted to note while I was shooting the B-roll on this is that I've had this for less than a week. I think this is my 7th day with it, and some of that matte on that matte black front faceplate is peeling, and that's upsetting because it's not from heavy use. I've used these probably a total of 10 hours. I'd say that's stretching it. I'd say I probably played it around 10 hours just to get a good feel of it, just so in a variety of games, so that I could actually do this review. I thought that was enough time with it. And I'm already getting some peeling on that matte cover, so maybe I talk about preferring the matte over the white because the white gets dirty, but the white's not peeling, so I don't know. At least they give us multiple covers here, because that's not good. That's not premium. So, final verdict. I like it. I like it a lot. It's everything that I want out of a pro-style controller. The back paddles are great. The fact that they are optional if you're not really, if you're playing other games and you're not really feeling like they require that, take them right off, replace them with the pack that comes with it. The faceplates, I can take or leave. Like, that's nifty, I guess, but if it's just going to be the one or two, like your options are it being a white or that matte black, okay. But, I mean, if you want to release more down the road, make it a little more customizable, that's cool too. The lack of rumble might be a deal breaker for some people. It's not for me. I play a lot of games on PC, so I've had some of my most immersive experiences with mouse and keyboard, which naturally don't have rumble. So rumble has never done much in the way of immersion for me. I like the HD rumble on the Switch, but so few things take advantage of it that this really doesn't matter to me. If rumble is something that you really require, if you feel like you're kind of missing something without rumble, maybe this isn't for you. No NFC. No NFC doesn't mean anything to me. I don't collect amiibos. I don't care about amiibos. And if you do, to me, that wouldn't still be a deal breaker, because if you're gonna have your Joy-Cons, you're gonna have probably a regular Pro controller. You have options. So I wouldn't necessarily think that would be a deal breaker. But if it is, save $100. Don't buy this. But the button response is good. The analog sticks are good. The D-pad is significantly better than the Pro Controller D-pad. I like it. Those sticks, they're Alps analog sticks, and that's a good brand. By renown, I'm not very in tune with analog stick technology, but by all accounts, Alps makes good analog switches. It's just hard. It's hard to give the hard recommend to a PowerA product. That's my only problem here, because right now, for the past week, it's been a fantastic controller for me. They give it a premium feel. the button feel, the analog stick feel, everything feels good. It's the best feeling controller PowerA has ever done. It's just, usually it's their analog sticks that have trouble, and these aren't their typical analog sticks, so I feel a bit more comfortable being like, this is worth your money. This is worth $100 US. But I don't know. Get back to me in a few months, and we'll see we'll see how everything else is holding up. We'll see what the quality of this thing and its longevity is like. If this company had a better track record, if this was like a Razer or somebody, I would 100% just be like, yes, worth $100. Go get one. If it falls within parameters, or if it's something that looks like something you want. And I think PowerA has done their best work here, but they just don't have the track record for me to be like, definitely worth $100. Absolutely worth $100 for anyone who might want it. So that's my only caveat. As far as the way that it has worked for me for this past week or so, top notch. I love the hell out of it. It is my go-to if I'm playing on the TV, which isn't even necessarily my go-to on the Switch anymore. I generally play handheld, but if I'm playing on TV, this is what I'm going to be used to play. This is a soft recommend. Soft recommend. If you're willing to take the risk and you're not put off by no rumble and no NFC, I don't think that you can beat this as far as a real, pro style controller on the Switch. If you got one, or if you have any other questions about it that I didn't cover here, let me know in the comments below. Talk about it there. I'll answer any questions you have. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.